Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tato nividito pradilabdha kama. Svadishnamasādya punasadevaha. Shanerjita svasa nivrita chito. Nyashida daruda samadhi yogaha. Translation. Failing in this realization, Brahma came back on the lotus. After, he started to meditate while controlling gradually his breathing and retracting his mind towards the internal self. We cannot attain the Lord on our own. Only the one who lets go of pride can attain Him by His will through meditation. Thus, Brahma abandoned his search and came back to the lotus. He sat down to meditate and controlled his mind. Then he attained complete absorption in the Lord. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Before speaking, I am begging for the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev, Gautam Maharaj, and all the assembled devotees to be able to glorify the Lord Shri Krishna. So we recite this pranam, Om Agyanatimirandasya. We beg the Acharyas, the spiritual master, to liberate us from this pitfall of material existence and identification with the body and the forgetfulness of our truth. Because in our world, everything goes against current. If we don't connect things that surround us with Krishna, then we forget Krishna. So we cannot be in our reality. And we wander like this life after life, within our true nature, forgetting our true nature, because we're made to be servants of the Supreme Lord. It is the function, the natural function of the self. The supreme occupation for the soul is the one that drives us to serve the love with love and devotion, without desiring anything for ourselves, just in the giving ourselves. This is love. When we love someone, when we give a gift to someone, we don't expect anything in return. when we offer a service through a disciplic succession to the Supreme Lord, if we must attain the purest love, we must develop this attitude of not expecting anything in return. No receiving thank you, no glorification, no material goods, no liberation. Just pleasing the Supreme Lord. And this, when gradually, through the guidance of the spiritual master, here we see Brahma. He tried, but he was not able to. But when there was the divine intervention of the Lord, who gave him the method by which he could attain realization, then he was able to attain it. That is why Gurudev, he made this point not long ago, very important point. Brahma is our guide, our spiritual master, because he showed us the example how to attain perfection. And this perfection, we attain it by taking shelter of a Vaishnava and by associating with the devotees of the Lord. Because when we associate with the devotees of the Lord, we remember Krishna, we speak about Krishna, we do service together. And naturally, it is much more easier. Unless we're a liberated soul. Just like we hear in the descriptions of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who could stay for hours and hours on end chanting the holy name under a tree, sitting in Indian a posture. They were completely absorbed in their reality. But as long as we're still conditioned, we need to be engaged. We need every day to have a sadhana, a spiritual rhythm that forces us to remember Krishna. But in this thing, in fact, at the beginning, it can be difficult because we don't want to follow the rules, the morning program, the services that the temple commander gives us. We want to do this or that. But gradually, we see, little by little, we progress. Why? Because we lose this tendency to be independent and to be able to do what we must. Because devotion is to do what the spiritual master wants us to do. Because he is the transparent representative of Radha and Krishna. So when he gives us an instruction, through this instruction, we attain perfection. And no matter the service, whether it is to paint the walls, whether it is to make a new painting, to wash the dishes, cook, chant, dance, no matter what, when it is connected to a qualified Vaishnava, one way or the other it will make us progress. Of course, just like Gurudev reminded us, like the more we put feelings of love in this service, the more we gradually attain perfection. Everything depends also on our attitude. That is why there's free will. That is why Brahma, he taught us this example, to take shelter. Although he had unlimited powers, he was really empowered to perform an extremely important service. But he needed a guidance. What to speak of us? With qualities, with faults, with a conditioning, with an extremely limited body. We need this guidance. Because without this guidance, It will be very difficult to attain perfection quickly. It will take more time. But someone who benefits from this association with Vaishnavas that are intense in their devotion, naturally, it transmits, it transfers upon us, it dies upon us. And gradually, we can develop this desire to attain this perfection in this life. And that's what Srila Prabhupada wanted. He gave us all these services with the goal to be able to find Him in the spirit transcendental world. Not with the goal of staying in this world, because the Vaishnavas, they don't come for this. The reality is somewhere else. But as long as we don't have even a drop of the experience of the spiritual world, it can be difficult to desire to attain this perfection. That is why Sadhu Sangha is extremely important. Association with the Vaishnava saints who had this experience will allow us to just desire to have this experience, and through this desire to become more and more serious, intense, and respectful also of what the Vaishnavas have given us, to understand how precious it is. That is why every day we thank Krishna, every day we chant the glories of the Vaishnavas, because what they give us, it is the greatest treasure. There's nothing in this world that could satisfy us. For example, we came back from holidays. Holidays is something in this world. Everybody is expecting the time of holidays. Everybody is awaiting for that moment. And sometimes also, even if we live in a temple, we do a lot of service. There's a need also to find ourselves in another place and do what we call holidays. But even in these moments, we realize, finally, association with the brothers and the sisters and the spiritual master, they're much more ecstatic holidays than holidays in this world. Because taste that we have in dancing all together, chanting all together, to serve and to just stay together at the feet of the Guru, it is so precious. And living in the Dham, it is immeasurable, the fortune we have to live in the Dham. Although there are like paradise, like beaches with turquoise water, the reality of the Dham is much more. It is incomparable. We just need to turn towards the deities and enter in their world through the Vaishnavas. Because when they accompany us and we dance for the deities, we chant for the deities, we are part of this world. And it fulfills the heart in a unique way. We cannot replace this thing. Of course, we do many things in this world, but dancing for the pleasure of the Vaishnavas, chanting for the pleasures of the Vaishnavas, and to be with the brothers and the sisters serving the Supreme Lord, there's a special taste. That is why we are fortunate to be together. Even if sometimes we have differences, even if sometimes we quarrel, even if sometimes we don't understand each other, because we have a body conditioning that can resurface in a too strong way. And anger can come, frustration. But as soon as to recenter and connect ourselves to reality, then we relate differently. We ask forgiveness, to have become angry, or to have a bad attitude, because we don't want to disconnect ourselves from our reality. As soon as we make a mistake, it's not possible to stay on this mistake that resurfaces. That is why introspection is important. And when we associate with Vaishnavas that are ripe, are pure, it brings back at the surface all these impurities. We often say it's like lightening up, kindling a fire amongst the forest. All the animals will go far away to escape from the fire. So, naturally it is unavoidable. Purity will make resurface the bad things in our heart. So we must not be surprised that sometimes in a temple, serving in a temple, there's anger or this or that. It's normal. It is part of purification. But as soon as these impurities, they resurface, through the shelter of the Vaishnavas, we must analyze them, ask forgiveness and rectify, recenter ourselves. And gradually, year after year, we rectify ourselves more and more. It's like a boxer that receives a hit, falls on the ground. He stands up quick, and he takes back the fight. It's the same thing. In this world, we fight with ourselves. We try to move forward, to reconnect ourselves with our reality, with devotion, true devotional service. It means to leave this false identification, to reconnect ourselves to who we are really. And everything we do, it brings us to that point. That is why each person moves forwards differently. Because each person has has unwanted things that are different. And each person has a different desire to move forward, quick or slowly. That is why there's a diversity. The Vaishnavas also, whether it is in a community or in the whole world, we can find all kinds of Vaishnavas. But when we meet a Vaishnava that is connected with his reality, it's a really, really great fortune, because he will always help us to go further. He will not let us stagnate unless we desire it. And as long as we desire to progress, no matter the difficulties we will encounter, it will always accompany to go further, because his only sole desire is to bring us in this reality that he is experiencing. No other desire. For example, one day, there was a spiritual master who was with his disciples in an ashram. And he had a disciple that had a lot of affection for him. And he gave him the instruction to herd the cows around in the surrounding area. And every day he was going with the cows in different places. And he was in complete ecstasy to follow the instruction of a spiritual master. And one day, the villagers said, "But you don't know, in this forest, in these pasturing grounds, there are Krishna, Balaram, and his friends that are there. And so, he said, huh? He started to cry intensely, to be able to have the darshan of Krishna and Balaram. But he was very simple. And one day, there's a child with dark complexion that came. He had a flute, the yellow dhoti, a peacock feather. And he came with his friends. I said, hey, why do you cry? What's happening to you? He said, oh, the villagers told me that Krishna and Balaram were not there in this forest. And they don't come, I want to see them. And this young boy told them, oh, that is true, I saw all kinds of sages and yogis that are trying to see Krishna and Balaram, but they are not able to make it. Don't lose your time. Come with us, we'll rather play together. So this devotee went to play with Krishna and Balaram. And the evening he came to the ashram of his guru. His guru, when he saw him, he said, wow, something changed. He looked so much in bliss, much more than usual. So he started to ask him questions. And he told him, in fact, I play every day with boys. And they're so kind, they're so wonderful, so beautiful. I'm sure you will appreciate them a lot. And he asked the description of this to this young boy. And when he gave him the description, he realized that it was none other than Krishna. And he told him, please, invite these young boys to come in my ashram to take a big feast. And so, the next day, Krishna, he left to meet his new friends. And he told them, I have good news to announce you. My spiritual master invites all of us to his ashram to take prasad. Please come. But Krishna was like shy because his guru was less qualified than him. And so, I'm very sorry, but today we will not be able to come. We will not be able to accept the invitation of your guru. And he had so much affection and love for his guru that he left. He said, if it's like that, je veux plus. I don't want to play with you. And he left. So Krishna, he has so much love for his devotees. He was taken by feelings. But the attachment to his devotees is greater. And since it was his desire that he comes in the ashram of his guru, Krishna was forced to give his darshan even to a person who was not as much qualified. He ran towards him. He caught his chadar. Oh, hold on, his chadar. I said, please excuse me, I deceived myself. It's Balaram who can come. But myself and our friends, we need to go, don't worry. So then they went back to the ashram, joyfully. And when the spiritual master, he saw Krishna, he was filled with ecstasy. He invited them to take prasadam in the ashram. It is the only goal of the Guru, that we can go back to Krishna. And in this pastime, the disciple was more qualified than the guru. And due to the disciple, the guru obtained Krishna. But if we have the opportunity, the great fortune, to have a qualified spiritual master, then we'll have the certainty that he will obtain Krishna. Because it is the only desire that he has. Simply, we must desire it. Because the Vaishnavas are really merciful. Even if we're not qualified, even if we have no chance to attain this perfection in life, in this life, we must have the certainty that he will bring us back. Because what Vaishnava affectionates, and it's out of good fortune he affectionates us in serving Radha and Krishna. That is why, to obtain the affection of a Vaishnava, to obtain the shelter of a Vaishnava, it is what is most precious. We can have all the qualities that exist. We can be the more beautiful, the strongest, to be the best pujari and dancer and this. And it is nothing compared to obtain the affection of a Vaishnava. Because when a Vaishnava affectionates us, Krishna affectionates us. That is why we thank Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev to allow us to move forward in this life, to direct ourselves gradually towards this eternity. And also I wanted to share. There's another pastime that came to mind just to finish, conclude. Because unfortunately in this world, since we're subject to the gunas, goodness, passion and ignorance, accepting a Vaishnava in our life, it's not always easy. Because it necessitates to leave our own personal desire to perform the desire of a Vaishnava. But to recognize a Vaishnava, it's also very difficult, extremely difficult. We need a special grace, otherwise we won't be able to recognize a Vaishnava. We can know who is who in this world, but it's difficult to know who is who. We need the transcendental vision for that. One day there was a pandit who gave lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam. And there was hundreds, thousands of people who were united. A lot of people wanted to listen. His lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, they were extremely, he had a lot of knowledge and he spoke very well. People started to be attracted to listen to him about the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But every day, there was a person who was coming in the room. But when he arrived, everybody moved away on the side because he was dirty. He was like a beggar, like a homeless guy. And he came like that day after day after day. And this Vaishnava that was speaking, he noticed that he was coming every day. He was asking, but who is this person? And one day, when he saw him come out of the Shiva temple, he asked, Oh, I see you every day come and listen to the classes. I was wondering, who are you? What is your name? And he told me, he asked me, from which village are you from? And he told him, usually, he was not answering to the questions. And people was asking him who he was. And then but out of the inspiration of the Lord, he answered. He said, I come from such village. It was a very renowned village. It was very famous to have families of high rank brahmanas. And so he asked him, from which family are you from? He said, I come from such family. He was surprised because it was a very important family. And he said, did you go to school? Or? He said, of course. I had such and such diploma. And to finish, that's where he wanted to conclude it. He told him, why do you live like that? I even saw you a few days eating in the same plate like a dog. You were eating, and the dog came. You let him eat in your plate, it is impure. He lowered his head. He said nothing. He continued to insist, but why do you do this? Why do you act in this way? Out of the inspiration of Krishna, he heard. He said, otherwise I won't be able to see Krishna. And so, the Vaishnava, it was not an ordinary Vaishnava, because he was sincere, it was not just a show. It was deep what he was saying. So he told him, in which way do you see Krishna? Because the darshan Krishna can just be one darshan for one moment in a meditation, or it can be a pastime. And then he can continue to see. I see Krishna, I speak to you. I speak to Krishna, I see Krishna as I see you. It's the most elevated. So naturally, the Pandit, he joined his palms and he asked forgiveness. He offered his obeisances because he realized that this person, Allah, he was in the worst condition. He was like a beggar, almost an idiot, because everybody was taking him for an idiot. And then, in fact, the Vaishnava is greater than that. So, recognizing who is in this world is very difficult. That is why we should always offer our respect to all the Vaishnavas and beg the grace of Radharani for Krishna to allow us to recognize a Vaishnava. Hare Bol. We notice sometimes that personal servants of the Guru, like great Vaishnavas like Srila Prabhupada, who massaged their body, slept on their bed after falling down. It proves that the physical aspect is not the most important. What Krishna reveals in the heart is the most elevated thing. That is why, through the chanting of the holy name, we can see everything about a Vaishnava, understand everything. Because the mercy of Krishna, it manifests so that we can one day love a Vaishnava. And when the Vaishnava comes, and we can see him internally in all his splendor, that means we perceive him with transcendental senses. With material eyes, they were not able to see Prabhupada. The proof is they fell down. But through the chanting, we can see the real Prabhupada. And this is the good news, is that Prabhupada is still present, is always present. And he can, because we can connect to him. That's why we see today, there's a lack of faith in Prabhupada. They lost their faith in Prabhupada. If you tell them, how can I have a relationship with him? They don't know what is Prabhupada. They just read books. Of course, the instructions are none different from him. But the original character, this is the goal. This is what we need to realize. What is my eternal relationship with Prabhupada? This is our goal. That is why they heard, but they didn't have the attitude for that. They associated, but they didn't have the attitude. And this attitude, then, this is a special gift that Radharani gives. It's really rare, but still, it is possible if we develop the desire. But if they fell down, because it's because they didn't see Prabhupada. Otherwise, it would not have been in this way. And we see that in the transmission, finally, of the remembrance of these people, they have the capacity of their realizations, but it is very small. And we're part of what Prabhupada is really. So of course, when through the chanting of the holy name, we can see the glories of Prabhupada. When we hear these glories, we see in regard to a realization. And that is why we need to associate with advanced devotees who saw Prabhupada, not with material eyes, but through a special darshan from within. This is the real Prabhupada. That is why this physical conception is not the most important, because Prabhupada in the transcendental world is there, in his eternal form, is always there for his devotees. That is why we must have this faith. Everyone can have a relationship with him, because he is our guru, because he is our leader. And one day he will come. But if we learn through unsincere people, myself, I see that my first guru, he told me, when you do the Guru Puja of Prabhupada, you meditate on me. This is dishonesty. The result is that he fell down. Because we cannot replace Prabhupada. That's important.